All right, so the Pittsburgh Steelers this week do not disappoint. They come out and get 27-19 win against the Denver Broncos, a team that, in my opinion, is more talented throughout the entire roster. I think it's I don't want to say deeper roster, but it's more evenly dispersed in terms of talent than Pittsburgh's is currently. But hey, God get the win. It was an exciting game, probably too exciting. Really should not have been that close at the end. We'll talk about that a little bit, but right now, I'm just glad we got a win. Makes life a little bit easier. We're 2-3 right now, so we're not out of the playoff race by any chance. I wouldn't probably pick us to make the playoffs today. If I had to pick teams to make the playoffs, I would not pick Pittsburgh based on how they performed so far to the season. But hey, 2-3. A lot of room to improve on. I'm glad we got this win today. This was a big, well, let's say if we had lost today, the season just would have been over, basically. So getting a win kind of prolongs it a little bit and we'll see how it goes from here. But let's just get into some points here. Let's recap some points I want to talk about from this game. I thought Ben Roethlisberger was good, but not great. I don't expect he'll ever be great again. But he had enough big throws here to put us in a position to win. He made enough of those throws. He was routinely missing in Green Bay, where he was just throwing the ball 5 yards beyond the wide receiver. He hit enough of those today to give Pittsburgh a chance to win. He was 15 for 25 on pass attempts, so not a great completion percentage, but 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 120.9 passer rating. He did benefit heavily from 2 dropped interceptions. Alexander Johnson, a linebacker for Denver, dropped 2 easy picks that Ben just threw right to him. And when I think Najee Harris fell down out of the backfield, and the ball just went right to Alexander Johnson. He dropped it. The yard time was just a terrible throw by Ben. But if those balls are picked off, we probably lose this game. So even though that's what I'm saying, Ben had a good game, not a great game, he really could have cost us this whole matchup with 1 or 2 of the interceptions there. So I have to say, good game, not a great one for him. James Pierre was getting cooked most of the fourth quarter. All on that, I guess you would say it was on Teddy Bridgewater's left-hand side. That side of the field, he was getting destroyed, I think, for most of that fourth quarter. Courtland Sutton had a big game. That's no shocker. He's more talented than Pittsburgh's corners right now, just because Joe Haden's getting up there in age. 2 years ago, he's much better than he is now. And Pierre and Cameron Sutton just not going to match up against someone like Courtland Sutton. It just won't happen. It won't work well. We don't really have a guy who I think will be able to lock down top-tier receivers. Even Courtland Sutton's not even a top-tier wide receiver per se, but on a good day, guys like Courtland Sutton are going to eat Pittsburgh's defense alive, and it's kind of what happened today. But props to Courtland Sutton. Props to James Pierre and Joe Haden for coming up big there at the very end of the game. They should never have gotten that deep into Pittsburgh territory. They should not have been able to drive down the field that fast, but they were. And at the very end of the game, with everything on the line, James Pierre has an interception to basically end the game. It was on a 4th and goal for Denver. And Joe Haden, the previous play, had a great pass breakup to prevent a touchdown that would have given Denver a chance to, I believe, tie the game. So, great job by the defensive backs at the end of the game, even though the process throughout the fourth quarter was agonizing to watch how quickly Denver was able to move the ball downfield. Minkah Fitzpatrick wasn't very helpful for Pierre and for the corners working on that left-hand side of the field, where I guess if you're facing Denver's offense, it would have been the right-hand side for Pittsburgh's D, the left-hand side for Denver's offense. Fitzpatrick just wasn't very helpful on that side of the field. He was coming over a little bit late. He wasn't making too many plays on the ball. This year, in general, he's been a liability in coverage. He's not been good. I know people will defend him quite a bit because, again, he's a superstar player for Pittsburgh, and I get that. But you have to call him. He's been bad in coverage this year for the most part. So I don't think he was that helpful today either. I know he ended up, 9 tackles in the game, 9 or 10 tackles, but a lot came after completions, not necessarily going up and stopping the run. He wasn't making any plays over the top on the ball, so I kind of call it what it is there. Let's see what else I want to talk about. The run game. The run game finally showed up. This is what we were looking for. This is the justification most Steelers fans had for taking a running back in the first round, was that we'll be able to run the ball now, so we don't have to put everything on Ben Roethlisberger for the offense. This was the justification. Now, the offensive line's been so bad up to this point that didn't even matter because they could not run the ball at all in the previous games. Well, today, for whatever reason, against the Broncos' defensive front that's actually pretty talented and has some good linebackers in terms of being able to come up and stop the run, against that unit, surprisingly, Pittsburgh was able to run the ball really well. And even Najee Harris, his longest run of the game was 20 yards. So it wasn't like he was ripping off these 50-yard runs to get to his total of 122 rushing yards on 22 carries. That's 5.3 yards per carry. He also ran for a touchdown. By far his best game, or at least his most productive and most efficient game as a pro right now. So I guess a good game by the offensive line in terms of run blocking. Like, it worked out pretty well. We don't usually have that happen. And again, against a talented Broncos defensive front, I was not expecting that. But I'm glad it worked out. I mean, this is why we drafted Najee Harris. So I'm glad we actually got to see him play the role we were hoping him to play. And he's a super talented running back, and I know that. I'm not saying that picking him was bad because he's not talented. My reasoning for saying picking a running back in the first round was not the best decision in the past was because the offensive line is not good enough to capitalize on the talents of Najee Harris. Now, Harris is, of course, if he can run like this and we have an offensive line that blocks to some extent this well in the running game moving forward, that's entirely different. But hopefully, cross our fingers that can continue because it's only been one game so far this year where we've already been able to count on the running game to actually go out there and help Ben Roethlisberger. What else? Injuries. Juju Smith-Schuster and Devin Bush both down with injuries, both out of the game. I know Smith-Schuster's injury was a shoulder injury. I watched the replay for that a couple of times. It looked like he was in a lot of pain when he got up. I'll be interested to see what exactly the injury is. But he's been banged up quite a bit recently. And he's not a super physical wide receiver, but he will take hits. He will try to embrace contact. Well, he'll seek out contact to gain more yards. So he's been banged up a little bit throughout the past 2 or 3 years. So the injuries have kind of mounting for him. And again, we just can't get this wide receiver core healthy. We really can't. If it's not Juju Smith-Schuster, it's Chase Claypool or Deontay Johnson missing games. So we just can't get all three of them on the field consistently at the same time. When they're out there, they're all at the very least number 2 options. Together, they're a really good receiver core, and Ben was actually able to take advantage of some of these guys today, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And Devin Bush going down again, that's not really surprising. He's been very injury-prone early in his career, unfortunately. Banged up quite a bit. Of course, last year was a major injury, so I don't really know if you can say he's been injury-prone. But he has a lot of nicks and bruises, seemingly this year. Maybe he'll get back to being able to play and can actually get a proper evaluation of him. But right now, I think the jury's still out on him in terms of being a high draft pick Pittsburgh trade up to get. We'll see if that was worthwhile or not. Yeah, Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson are just very dynamic players. Just get them the ball in space. Like, this is what Pittsburgh's offense needs to do. Get them the ball in space and let them work. Because they have the speed. Chase Claypool obviously has the strength as well. He's got the height, strength, speed combination everyone wants. Deontay Johnson is a little bit shiftier, a little bit smaller. Just get them the ball in open space and let them have an opportunity to work. The issue is they haven't been able to do that because Pittsburgh's been playing the ball so close to the line of scrimmage that they're getting jammed. They're getting run right into corners, run right into linebackers. By chance they get the ball, they're not going to have the opportunity to work in space because you still have the corner in front of you. You've got a linebacker coming over. You've got the safety coming downhill. They don't have the room right now with the way the Pittsburgh's been running the offense. Today, Chase Claypool caught one where he went 50-something yards, basically. Most of that came as yards after the catch because he was able to work, just able to maneuver himself around the field. And I think you need to get more of that going forward. Final takeaway, the Steelers have yet to play a full game. When I said they've yet to play a game where they performed at a high level for 4 quarters. They did not play well in this 4th quarter. They didn't. The offense scoring 3 points was enough to push it to being an 8-point game, which is what we really needed to happen. But again, that was the lowest scoring quarter of the game for them. And after giving up just 6 points in the first 3 quarters, they gave up 13 in the 4th. And really, they could have given up 7 more because Denver was right there. Denver was right there at the end of the game. So Pittsburgh is yet to play a full 4-quarter game, which they can fix in time. But for a team that has so many veterans as they do, this is really not a good sign that you cannot put together 4 quarters of good football. But we'll see. Overall, happy with the win. Some good things to draw from that. Some things you need to work on. But they play Seattle next week. Seattle's not going to have Russell Wilson, which is going to be huge for Pittsburgh. Seattle's a little bit of a team in turmoil right now. They're looking for their identity. They're just trying to figure things out. They are 2-3 as well. So we'll see how this all plays out. But right now, I'm feeling pretty good about Pittsburgh getting a chance to play Seattle. And really, it's a toss-up game for me. I'm not going to say Pittsburgh has an advantage. I really don't know that because, again, Ben Roethlisberger's play week to week is so inconsistent. And the offensive line, again, is so inconsistent. I can't say Pittsburgh has an advantage over Seattle, even though Seattle has a backup quarterback. I really can't say that. But I do think the receivers for Pittsburgh, if they're healthy, will have an opportunity to really create some havoc in the Seattle secondary. And I'm looking forward to that matchup next week at, it's going to be an 8:20 game? Is that going to be a night game? Yep. All right, next week, 8:20, night game. Sounds good. See you all then.